Welcome to the Real Paranormal Stories podcast with your host, Christopher Buckner. Send your stories to realparanormalstoriespodcast@gmail.com. Royalty-free music provided by Kevin MacLeod and Tabletop Audio. And now, let's take a trip into the paranormal. This story comes from Courtney, and this is her story. My apartment is pretty normal, or that's how I used to feel. A few years ago, after living in this apartment for a few years already, something happened that really changed my view on everything. I used to believe in heaven and hell, and an afterlife. But I'll admit I had some skepticism. On this night, late at night, I clearly remember opening my eyes for some odd reason. Turns out, there's a shadow figure standing by my side of the bed, watching me. Seconds after I had opened my eyes, the figure turns and walks out of the bedroom door. So naturally, I assume it is my boyfriend looking for something. Looking back, I wonder what he would be looking for in the middle of the night. So I said out loud, "What are you doing?" and got no answer. So I thought, okay, that's weird. Then I feel his side of the bed, and he was sound asleep in bed. So what did I do? Probably not what I should have done. I just scooted as close to him as possible and fell back asleep, somehow. From then on, I sleep with my Bible next to me on his side of the bed now. I don't think I could ever sleep on that side again. It's also insane. My old neighbor and friend had freaky things happen to her, and my new neighbor asked me if we felt like we were being watched and couldn't sleep here. My brother's fiance also has had odd things happen. I'm convinced my apartment is haunted, but I ignore it or blame my cats now. I don't want to give anything attention or energy to get worse, so we just try to forget. But every night, in the back of my mind, I think of the shadow figure every time, watching me sleep. And that is Courtney's story. This story comes from a Reddit user who wanted to remain anonymous. And this is their story. My family lived in this home from the mid-70s into the 90s. The house always had a creepy feel to my brother and I. So many strange things happened there. Toilets flushing at night, stereo coming on, etc. My brother and I were terrified of the basement for some reason. My mom would send us down there to get a loaf of bread out of the freezer, and you never saw a kid race up and down stairs quicker. Nothing unusual happened in the house, according to the oldest members of the neighborhood. One Saturday morning, I got my bowl of Fruit Loops and plopped down in front of the TV to watch Bugs Bunny. Everyone was asleep. I could hear the chair that was 12 feet behind me moving. It was a regular 1970s living room chair, but it was on a base that allowed it to swivel side to side or rock back and forth. I assumed my cat had just jumped up to sit in the chair, as he often did. But moments later, my cat came and sat by me and the chair kept rocking. A few spoonfuls of cereal later, and it was rocking so hard, I could tell the wooden base was coming off the floor. My brother and I had done that from time to time because we were dorks. I was too scared to turn around to look at it. Oddly enough, the night before, my family and I watched a 60-minute special about a haunted house. The people told the ghost they wanted to be friends with it. Then the scary interaction stopped, and there were only a few mischievous events after that. So I repeated their speech as best as I could remember it. The chair stopped moving. I went back to bed, still not looking at the chair, and tried to go back to sleep. All of the strange events stopped, but the house never lost the creepy vibe. And that is their story. That's all for this episode of the Real Paranormal Stories podcast. If you liked what you heard, please leave us a review anywhere this podcast can be found.